Commitments of aid to Ukraine are at their lowest since the war began. Ukraine's been relying on Western support since Russia invaded in February 2022, and new data shows an 87% fall in new commitments of aid compared to the same period last year. This graph shows us the total aid that's been promised each month. It peaked last December. And look at what's happened in recent months. This latest data shows that commitments have continued to fall. Of 42 countries which have previously donated, only 20 committed new aid between August and October. And there were only small commitments from Ukraine's two biggest donors, the US, which provides the most military aid, and the EU, which provides the most.
Western military support has been crucial for Ukraine's defense against Russia, but there's growing uncertainty about how long this support can last. As we look ahead, several factors could significantly reduce Western aid, and this could alter the course of the war. First, political changes in Western nations could play a major role. Future elections might bring leaders who prioritize domestic issues over foreign conflicts. Public fatigue is another risk. As the war drags on and economic challenges such as inflation and high energy costs hit Western countries, public opinion may shift towards reducing involvement in Ukraine. Then, there's the economic strain. Supporting Ukraine has cost billions, and this financial burden could become too much for some nations, especially if their own economies face recessions or rising energy prices, particularly in Europe, where reliance on Russian gas remains a significant issue. Geopolitical shifts could also divert attention away from Ukraine. Emerging global crises, like rising tensions in the Indo-Pacific, might push Western nations to focus elsewhere. Additionally, the longer the war lasts, the greater the risk of escalating tensions with Russia, something many Western governments will want to avoid. So, what happens if this support begins to decline? For Ukraine, the consequences would be serious. Without the continued flow of advanced Western weaponry, Ukraine's military capabilities would weaken significantly, making it harder to defend key areas or launch counteroffensives. Pressure to negotiate with Russia could mount, leading to a settlement that might involve territorial concessions, something Ukraine has fought hard to avoid. Ukraine's morale could also suffer. The strong international response has been a vital source of encouragement, and if that fades, internal challenges could grow. Meanwhile, a weakened Ukraine would allow Russia to exploit its strategic advantage, potentially solidifying control over occupied territories or even launching new offensives. But Ukraine isn't without options. In response to a potential drop in Western support, Ukraine could diversify its diplomatic efforts, seeking help from countries beyond NATO and the EU. Increasing self-sufficiency by developing its own military production and focusing on a defensive strategy might also help sustain the fight in the long term. In conclusion, while Western support has been a lifeline for Ukraine, the possibility of it waning poses a real challenge. Ukraine will need to adapt, both diplomatically and militarily, to ensure it can continue resisting effectively, even if international backing starts to falter.